I'm Girish. I'm from Greytip Software. A lot of our friends here talked about what's new, what's big. We are trying to deal with a more existential problem, not just faced by HR managers in Bangalore, but a lot of companies in India who don't have good HR managers working for them, who don't have access to the right kind of tools, a major segment of the population, and how does HR work for them? How does HR automation work for them? Now this is the problem that we are trying to address. So we are not too much of it into the social media space, but you can call us as the brick and mortar part of this entire discussion. Okay. So typically a very brief idea about our company. We do HR and payroll solutions. We are in the HR automation space for quite some time now. We do various automation pieces for employee data management, payroll, time office, attendance, a lot of transactional HR parts we deal with. We have been working with fairly large number of organizations. Currently we have about 2,000 organizations using our application, about 500,000 payslips we generate every month. So as we went through our journey of trying to put these automation solutions in place in a large number of organizations, a lot of challenges did come up. A number of you are already been through 1 to 2 generation of HR automation process. So you always face these issues. There's a product fit, the vendor does not support, it does not exactly meet your requirement, then there's an implementation cost. So there are a lot of these existential problems that you need to deal with whenever you go in for an automation solution. What we are attempting to do is to try to figure out how we can overcome these solutions and give a much more pleasanter experience to the people who want to bring in some amount of basic automation into their organizations. Money is a concern, there's an upfront capital investment. Now what happens is all of this ensures that not much of automation goes into organizations. Then as Samir rightly said, HR then there's a perception of what HR is, right? There are only people who look after the appraisal pieces. Because most of the time you are running behind getting somebody's leave application, you are running behind getting a report organized for a manager. The reason is IT efficiencies don't get built in because automation tools don't come in. So that is the challenge that needs to be addressed. This is where we believe we can make a difference in doing it, trying to do it a little differently. Okay? So traditional payrolls, traditional HR systems, you would need to buy the software, you would need to put it in, then you would need to interact with the vendor, right? So if we can provide a platform where you can do it before you actually take the call, you can do a trial, right? Even though on the social media side is all something that's given, on the more traditional HR automation piece, this is not the way it works, right? Most of the vendors like us are people who actually come, sell the software, you need to make an upfront investment. Especially what happens is the moment you move out of the metros, this becomes a huge mess because there's no vendor support also. There's absolutely nobody who will support you in a Coimbatore or a Mysore or a Indore or a Ghaziabad. Even though I have all these problems, I still need to do my PF and I still need to do my income tax, I don't get support. So what we are trying to say is, if we can cut out this model where there's a lot of vendor support required, where we can take this out, make it easy to adopt, make IT adoption not much of a hassle, then we can work with and make sure that a huge amount of HR and people management people can move up the ladder, right? The automation and the benefits of automation will not just be restricted to the bigger cities, to the HR managers, but a large segment of the population of this country will get access to good HR people. And then HR people can focus on the human part of the whole thing rather than running behind the next leave application that needs to be updated into the Excel file. So what we are trying to do, we have an application called Greytip Online. We work on more of the transactional pieces of HR. We don't do much of the strategic piece. We have the employee database management, the payroll, leave, administration, and the expense claim. Whatever is. Okay. So how are we trying to break the barrier? How are we trying to increase adoption? How are we trying to make it easy for a large number of businesses to do it? We have tried to break out of the traditional model. Like the social media company, we are trying to bring this to traditional HR automation tools, make free trials available, cut down the amount of initial money that organizations need to spend. Okay, and we have brought in a very aggressive pricing model. At just ₹20 per employee per month, you get access to a whole gamut of HR automation process, right? From your payrolls to leave to employee self-service to a large amount of process you can automate. So what also happens is organizations tend to, you will get out of this upgrade AMC cycle because we tend to continuously improve the software, and this we believe including access and ability to go outside the cities will really help us. So I will cut this. These are some of the modules that we are working on. So as I said, the primary thrust is to try and do the automation piece differently. We don't have a large amount of different things to do, but we are trying to bring the a different way of approaching and automating HR processes. Thank you.
Thanks, Girish. One question for Girish, and then we can have questions for all four of them.
Sure. Hi, I'm Selva. My question is about some of the confidentiality related aspects. Payslip is the most confidential information of an individual. Some lights on that would be helpful. Second bit is about is it only an online support, or is there a person that the employee can talk about in terms of payroll related or salary related issues? I mean, I don't see my payslip at all. If that's the case, would he talk to one of you there, or would he go back to the organization?
Okay. I'll just explain the confidentiality part. See, one of the prime reasons of there's a big problem with printed payslips and emailed payslips. Now, what happens is the moment it lands up in your mailbox, it suddenly becomes visible, right? If somebody is passing by and you have opened the payslip, then it opened the email, or somebody is sitting next to you, then the payslip becomes visible. So the thing being online and on demand makes it that much more confidential, because the payslip within your organization is not easily visible. I was thinking of that as the confidentiality. If you're talking of data security, in terms of how is that the data is secure. See, what happens is a lot of cloud applications today, if you are building the cloud, if you're building the application ground up as a cloud application, a lot of security features get built in automatically, right? There are some best practices, there are people who have done this earlier, it's maturing. So what happens is when you do a good job of building your application, a lot of security gets built in. And what also happens is as an organization, this becomes your bread and butter business, right? Compared to a small company who has the Excel file sitting at his desk where the IT guy can open the Excel file, it generally never really happens on your application. That becomes very interesting. In terms of support, typically what happens is support is given to the end user. That's the HR administrator. If there is an employee support and the employee has a query, you typically talk to the HR. Do not talk to us.
Thanks, Girish. So we can have a few questions to anybody on the panel here.